Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 200 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on February 27th, 2024. How are all you wonderful folks doing today? I hope you're doing well. Good morning to all of you. It's episode 200. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? I was thinking about that. It kind of crept up on us when I sat down to go over what I was going to speak with you about today. I did notice that it was going to be episode 200, but then I was thinking about it. I was like, well, today's really no different. I mean, we have some technical sponsor discussion to go over. The Otter Creek Labs Polonium-30 on 308 bolt action and 556 MK18. You saw those articles that were published last week. We're going to dive into those technically today, as it is tradition. But in the spirit of honoring the fact that this is the 200th episode of the podcast, I'll say a few words about the effort in general. I'll kick a topic at the end of the podcast on that a little bit, I guess. Testing has been ongoing this year already with a lot of analysis as well. It's been pretty busy, and I'm happy to be here. I do want to thank all of you for sticking with this for several years now. While we continue to build the research pedigree, we continue to help people learn about silencers, continue to enjoy the wonderful advancements that are coming to light as a direct result of your help. I think that all of us that are silencer enthusiasts, and the folks in the silencer industry, I think everyone owes a great deal of debt to all the supporters of PEW Science, pushing this effort to continue, helping it to continue, and be able to publish research findings that I think really haven't ever been shown before. So I think that really does help a greater understanding of silencers in general, in the state of practice, and I think it does help bring more people into silencers because there are more people that understand them, and wherever you have a lot of good understanding, you get a lot of good teachers. I think that's that's the mission, and I think it's working. And so 200 episodes of speaking with you. I feel like it's good. Okay, we'll do another 200. How about that? Okay. It's interesting. The photo that I'm publishing with today's episode is very strange. You have an RC2 on a MK18, and it's not like it's on there because I want it to be. It's because the dang locking collar got stuck and my strap wrench broke, and it's on there, and I got to get it off. So I was frustrated. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a picture of this dumb thing. And then, I put a SIG P210 in the photo because, that's my gun. And I think I told you a couple episodes ago that, suppressed 9mm pistols are like my favorite, like me personally. Right. And, anyway, there's a silencer on it in the photo, but I blurred out the silencer because it's a client silencer, and I'm going to show you test data for it. Not yet, and so I don't want to give it away. So I was like, I'm just gonna still want to take a picture of it. So I put it on there, but you can see how long it is. It's not too long, so it's like, it's kind of feels good on that gun. So I was like, that's a good combo. Let me take a picture of that. Then I realized, I can't really show it yet. I was like, maybe I'll just put it in there anyway. So I did that anyway. So it's a random photo, but just want to give you a glimpse of this. It's a madhouse, but that's what's going on, okay? So how about this? For episode 200, just sit back, relax, maybe grab a beer to celebrate, or, maybe if you're driving, maybe grab a road soda. I wouldn't tell you to drink and drive or nothing. So let's get into it. And let's first thank all the wonderful sponsors who continue to make this show possible. And if you don't want to stick around for this, if you're on YouTube or Spotify, or just, click the timestamp and skip the ads, or be cool and listen to them. What, don't you want to be cool? Peer pressure. The J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Legion Athletics. That's right, because nothing you do, exercise, sports, or anything is worth doing without consistency. You have to do things all the time if you want to master your craft and be good at them, correct? Correct. Legion Athletics can help you with that. They have whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout vitamins, minerals, supplements. They don't have everything you need, but they have a lot. And so if you go to legionathletics.com, and there is a link in the show notes, which you should use code word PEW Science. You save 20% off of your first order. You keep using that code for double loyalty points. You'll end up getting a net 10% off everything you buy using the code Get Swole. Okay, legionathletics.com. Code word PEW Science. This episode is also brought to you by Top Gun Range Houston. If you're in the Houston area or just passing through, like let's say you're going on a business trip that's super boring. Maybe you leave your meeting early and you go check out the 15-lane indoor shooting range with the largest firearm rental fleet in the entire state of Texas. And you rent pistols and rifles and shotguns and silencers with PEW Science host weapons. See how the gun handles. You want to buy a silencer? Try before you buy. TopGunRange.com. Check them out. Episode is also brought to you by High-End Armament Technologies in Oklahoma, which is a very strange state, but it does exist. We have to acknowledge that Oklahoma is real. It is real. It's a real place. They do have high-end armament, so hey, it's not all bad. A dealer of exactly that, high-end arms and accessories, significant longevity in the machine gun game, NFA game, and significant expertise in the procurement and operation of night vision, thermal optics, and infrared sighting systems. Okay, check them out at highendarms.com. Instagram at highendarms. What, you want to go broke? Spend your money there. Also, the podcast is brought to you by Silencer Shop. It's the largest distributor of silencers in the world. Pretty wild. You can do your fingerprints and photos electronically. You cut down on errors. You simplify your silencer purchasing process. You get a money back guarantee. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, no transfer fees, no paperwork errors. Just you and your silencer with no drama. Truly is silencer ownership simplified. And then, the whole reason we're here, at the end of the day, the podcast is brought to you by the PEW Science Laboratory. It's I started this lab, and I'm the technical director of PEW Science now, and in the interest of public education, this is the 200th episode I'm talking to you. The lab is like, well, we're gonna make this podcast happen to educate the public and spread the word about the public research effort, okay? And that continues to push the silencer industry forward one test at a time. And you can visit our website at pewscience.com for the suppression rating. It's the simplest and most accurate hearing safe rating for suppressible alarms based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before you shoot the gun all the way until everything that's happening when you shoot the gun is gone and done. Okay? That's the important part. It's the entire thing. It's awesome. It's consistent. It works. And PEW Science did this for you, okay? It's the home of the silencer sound standard. We wrote this for you. There's 7 sections. They're all on the website. It's the most in-depth and accurate silencer data analysis in the entire world. It's all available to the public 24/7 at pewscience.com. And you listening, I know a lot of you support this effort, and we're in your debt. We couldn't do it without you. Those of you who don't, you don't know that you can all support all of this by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. That really helps, okay? You can even donate. Sometimes people just donate. They send love bombs to us. They're like, oh, yeah. They hit the donate button on the review page of the podcast page because maybe they already have a membership, and they're like, you know what? I'm going to throw in some little extra something. And we get donations, and we're like, oh, sweet. They're tax deductible, It's tax time. Every little bit does help, though, really. Seriously, it's run by members. And if times are tight, and they can be for you never know what's going to happen in your life. Something that's free and doesn't cost you anything is to give the podcast a good rating on Spotify or iTunes or YouTube, or like and subscribe, or whatever all that stuff is. You do that. It helps because it gets the information to more people, which helps it grow and helps it help more people. It's like a snowball effect of good stuff. Okay, helps everyone know that silencers and guns are awesome. Okay, so now, let's see. We'll have 3 topics. What we'll do is we'll get into topic 1, which is Sound Signature Review 6142, the Otter Creek Labs Polonium-30 on the standard 308 bolt action. That's a technical discussion. We should probably talk about that, right? It's important. And then topic 2, we took the same silencer, we put it on the MK18. That's the technical discussion of that white paper. Keep in mind, both of these white papers were released last week, in which we did an introductory episode. But we need to dig down and dirty, technical nitty gritty, and we'll do that on today's episode. Okay, so you'll see how the polonium compares with the polonium-30 compares with the polonium on the MK18. Isn't that cool? Because you saw the polonium first, like a while back, in like review 70 something or something like that. So yeah, we'll talk about that, and that, in fact, that might be a good title for this episode, like polonium versus polonium-30 on 556. Yeah, because that's probably the most important thing. Besides the next topic, which is topic 3, more silencers, more testing, and more data. Okay, research continues. Here at PEW Science, testing is ongoing with both member funding and under contract from some great companies. So it's you do need to know that the time to be into silencers has never been better. It's very important for you to understand that. If you're new to silencers, you are joining us in a very I was going to say in a tumultuous time, but the silencer industry has always been tumultuous. This is like the golden age or something. Topic 1 at a time of 11 minutes and 18 seconds. I have on my desk, I was doing something else, and I had a pencil here instead of my pen I usually use. My favorite mechanical pencils are the Pentel models that are made in Japan. There are a couple of different lead sizes. Typically my favorite's the 0.7 millimeters. I know some people like the 0.5. There are some of my colleagues who prefer the 0.9, which I find to be a little extra, as the kids say. It's like relax with your 0.9. Do you really need that? I found the 0.7 to be a good balance. So topic 1, sound signature review is 6142, the Otter Creek Labs Polonium-30 in the standard 3 bolt action. Episode 200, how about that? Yeah. Oh man. Okay, so interestingly enough, a 308 bolt gun test. Okay. One of the staples of the silencer sound standard pedigree. Yes. So many silencers have been put through this evaluation, and for good reason. Center fire, intense sound. And guess what? Despite the high energy, the high combustion energy generated from the 308 cartridge, many users of this particular setup don't wear hearing protection. Oh no, that's right. And why is that? Well, why would you not wear hearing protection when shooting a 308 bolt-action rifle? I mean, it's not a 22. This isn't rimfire. So why on earth would you not wear hearing protection? Well, it's use case, guys. It's convenience. What do people do with 308 bolt guns? They go hunting. How many shots are they shooting? I mean, a lot of times just one shot. I know that doesn't cover everyone, but for many hunters out there, they may check their zero a couple times, and shoot one shot and kill that deer or kill that elk and be done. And that might be their shooting with that rifle for the entire year. Okay, and some of you might cringe when you hear that, and that's probably not you who listen to this podcast, but you do need to understand that type of person does exist. They're real, and guess what? They're buying silencers. Okay, so for the utility of the effort, the actual utility of how this information is used, the 308 bolt gun tests are pretty dang topical. They're very important. Okay, that's why they're so numerous. In fact, how many do we have? Let's go to the ranking section, shall we? Okay, if you're a member, you can go to the member. I'm in the members ranking page. It's fine. I'm going to click on ammunition. And it has the record count there. So 50. If I'm 308, I'll click only to only bring those up. So I now have every 308 bolt gun test listed in the table and only those. Yeah, so we have 50 data points in the public pedigree here. That's pretty good. With that, when you have that many data points with anything, when you have 50 data points, you can start to look at trends, can't you? And I don't think we're going to get too deep into that today, but suffice to say, there are performance classes of rifle silencers. Yes, I think we can all agree. Over 50 of those you have seen, you know that are classes. What do you got? You got, look at the table. I still sort of by composite suppression rating, right? Descending. So, well, you got, what do you got? You got your Sandman Ks, your short radiance, your resonator Ks, your Razor 762, the Vox, all that stuff. The bottom there is loud, Sure, those are silencers. For a 308 bolt gun, it's pretty dang loud. And it's not like, it's like, oh, I think that's loud. No, it's objectively loud. It's objectively dangerous without hearing protection, right? Yeah, and they're not bad products. And don't get it twisted, right? We're not saying that those are bad products. They're just products that don't suppress significantly on this host weapon, right? That maybe they're used for other things or whatever. It's okay. It's not good or bad. It's just that this is the information we're giving you. Okay, so when you look at this table, you look at the other extreme end of the scale here. The other extreme end of the scale, you have what do you got? You get your 30 caliber heavy hitters, right? These are things like the Nomad L, the Hyperion, the Hydrogen L, the Jolene. You even have some really interesting stuff up there, like that's like louder for bystanders, like the Enticer L, but yeah, it's doing pretty good work for the shooter. It's just an odd silencer. All of those silencers are super high performance, and they're also larger than the other, the silencers in that first group, right? Which is a little bit obvious, right? Not always obvious, but a little bit obvious, right? With the current technology, that's typically how it's working. So, you have those two groups in these classes, I guess you could call them. And in between you have the kitchen sink. Everything but the kitchen. It's just like so many things. You got your composite suppression ratings in the 40s down to the 30s, right? And these are your workhorses, right? These so many silencers here. This is where the Otter Creek Labs Polonium-30 is sitting. Okay, and it kind of sits in the bottom half of the workforce group here, the working class silencer. I mean, it's like I don't even know what words we're choosing here, but it's a smaller silencer. It's like a Trash Panda size, roughly, kind of. It's like a Nomad size, kind of. That's kind of where it's sitting. And I'm using those terms because those are popular silencers. You relate to them. So what is the Polonium-30? Like I got it on my desk here. What is it? Well, it's a regular polonium with a bigger hole. It's made of steel, just like the regular polonium is. It just with a bigger hole in it. The original polonium is a 6mm bore. People use it on a 5.56 all the time. The Polonium-30 is the same exact silencer with the hole made bigger in the middle. That's it. There's no mystery, there's no fancy development, there's no modeling, there's no real changes from the simple utilitarian design of the polonium. It's just overboard, that's it. So when you look at this, in the entire public research pedigree, all public 143 articles, this is the first time we have really seen a silencer like that evaluated. A silencer that had a smaller bore for one application and then was opened up for a different application with absolutely no other change. Okay, so we're going to get into that in the next topic, but I wanted to mention it in this one just because we're starting to talk about it, and it's important to understand like what the silencer is. Don't get it twisted. Don't think it's like some specially engineered 30 caliber version of a polonium. No, it's a regular polonium with the bore opened up. And you knowing that is actually important for context for what you're going to see, good and bad. Okay, we'll get to it. So when you look at how the silencer does, you'll see that it performs extremely similarly to the old PR30S from Otter Creek. A lot of you have no idea what that silencer is. It was short-lived product. It actually has some coaxial baffle elements. It's basically like an Omega baffle in there. It's not exactly like it, but it's sort of like that. kind of, sort of. And we talked about that a while back, about how that helps to relieve pressure stagnation for the envelope for supersonic flow. Now, when you see the silencers perform similarly, which, the PR30S and the Polonium-30 on 308 do have similar overall performance. When you see those two specific silencers perform similarly, it really does show just how efficient the polonium baffle geometry is for high pressure flow, especially because I think it's a little bit shorter than the PR30S. So you got to keep in mind, because the polonium, if you don't know this, or if you've forgotten, it doesn't have super advanced flow paths inside. It has a basic, well, it's a little bit more than basic, but it's sort of a stepped cone system. It's actually not unlike a Thunderbeast silencer in some ways, the polonium. In some ways, it's a pretty high efficient. It's a high efficiency cone system that works well. The blast baffle's pretty smart too, with regard to durability. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, when you see a cutaway of the polonium and you look at a PR30S, it really shows you, wow, the polonium is actually pretty optimized. And we'll go into that, okay? It's actually pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting, So what we should do to do that, we should probably look at the math, huh? So let's look at the data. What we can do is pull up the article if you're on your computer, your phone, or whatever you're doing. Not when you're driving. Don't do that. Review 142. So I have the full member version up. You can have the free version up. It's fine. It'll work. Okay. So we'll start at the top. The bottom line up front is that the Polonium-30 on the 308 bolt gun with the 20-inch barrel, the Polonium-30 will give you a muzzle suppression rating of 25.2 and an ear suppression rating of 36.6, okay? And that will result in a composite suppression rating for the whole sound field of 37.1, okay? So that's what that does. Now, when you look at that data, 25.2 at the muzzle, 36.6 at the ear, it's not a world beater by any means, right? Just like we were talking about. It's not a world beater. One second. Excuse me. It's not like breaking any records. But you know what it is doing? When you go back to the rankings, which I'm going to do right now. Where is it? Shoot. Oh, I scrolled up too high. Yeah, when you look at in the rankings table sorted in descending performance order, it's hitting pretty close to like an original first-gen Nomad. Isn't it? So that's not too shabby, all things considered. It's rather interesting, actually, and so you kind of want to look at what makes it tick, right? So you go back to the article. Scroll down past all the words and table and everything, and go to Figure 1, the Figure 1A and Figure 1B. Okay. Now you start at the top here. It's the fingerprint. Okay, so one thing that's particularly interesting about this test is the extreme consistency of the overall combustion, and that lets us actually see some interesting things that happen later in the shot string with the silencer, and I'm a really big fan of that. So let's start from the top. So you look at Figure 1A and 1B. In Figure 1A, you'll notice that the blowdown happens faster than, I don't know, say like a larger, quieter silencer. Pick one, right? It's letting gas out more quickly. It's a smaller silencer. It's trapping less gas. This should be no surprise. It's very apparent right away when you see it. It's actually very easy to see. The more you're familiar with these waveforms, the more you'll understand that. Now, it is, however, trapping gas for a duration that is longer than something like a Sandman K, right? This is the middle ground I was speaking about earlier. It's the middle ground. When the muzzle blast does come out of the silencer, the primary jet, I'm not talking about the first jet with the bullet shock and that coupled phenomena. I'm talking about the primary muzzle blast jet, the main thrust that's coming out of there. When it does come out, it actually happens pretty early. And this is where you see just how intense it is. Okay? Just how intense it is. Here's where you're seeing some gnarly rarefaction pretty consistently, and it's increasing throughout the shot string. You can see that in figure 1B. Okay? Look for yourself. Now, if you look how the gas momentum's accumulating from the pressure propagation, you'll see that momentum starts to increase accordingly as you continue to shoot the silencer. Now you can see that in figure 2 in impulse space. You can check out the notes there actually in figure 2B. Again, that's gas momentum expressed as impulse in figure 2A and 2B. Okay, you can see that. Now, you take all of this and you say, well, what's going on? Why is it happening? I'm talking about something changing as you shoot the silencer. Like, what does that mean? Is that good? Is that bad? Should I care? Well, to talk about why it happens, it's a simple silencer, and it's heating up. The baffles are heating up. The atmosphere in the silencer is heating up. The cavities between the baffles. You are slowly but surely losing efficiency. There aren't coaxial elements. There aren't gas redirection paths. It's a brute force silencer. It's what I like to call, and I don't know who else says this is what I say. You can quote me if you want. I don't care. I call it a brute force silencer. And these conventional baffles, they're doing work. I mean, it's a good system. They're not miracle workers though, and you're gonna get a little less consistent overall intensity than, for example, that old discontinued PR30S on this host. That PR30S that was a more advanced baffle technology, honestly. I know it performs similarly, but it's more advanced. It's more, I believe it to be more consistent, at least in combustion propagation. And just don't forget, this silencer we're talking about today, it's a polonium with a bigger hole, guys. It's not a purpose-built 308 silencer. It's not like they set out to build a purpose-built 308 silencer. They literally took a 5.56 silencer and drilled a bigger hole in it. As long as you know that going in, you're set. Okay? What's like probably 30% of the PEW Science effort for you? Setting expectations, if not more, maybe 50%. What do we do a significant amount of time with this effort? Set your expectations for use. So don't like, what is it? Idolize, or what's the word? You put something up on a pedestal, or something just because it's like a brand XYZ. And it's like, well, be careful of that. Just know what to expect. Any company can make a loud silencer or a quiet silencer. You never know, right? It doesn't matter what the brand is. We've proven that. Okay, so all the technical nitty-gritty, you can read it in the article. It's fine. You're welcome to check that out. The thing to understand is, with this silencer on you take a Polonium-30, put it on a 308 bolt gun, you are going to hear some first round pop with the Polonium-30 on a 308, and then after the second shot, which is, to be clear, the first shot you shoot to actually hear a differential from the first shot. Like if you want to judge first round pop and you're the shooter, how are you going to know? Well, you're going to shoot the first shot, you're going to hear it. Then you're going to shoot the second shot, and it's either going to be louder or quieter or the same. And you're going to be like, oh, there was FRP, right? So that's going to happen. You're going to hear that in the second shot. You're like, oh, first shot was louder. Interesting. But then if you keep shooting it, you're going to be like, how come it doesn't seem to be getting even quieter? It just seems to be getting louder again. Yeah, it's going to get, it might get a little louder to you when you shoot. Okay, and that phenomenon, that's actually pretty good. That's the gist of some of that discussion in the article. And now, if you're a member, you'll see that a lot of that phenomenology does translate to the shooter's ear sound field as well, just by the nature of the weapon system. It is a bolt-action rifle, but standoff does help with the FRP severity, et cetera, et cetera. But if you remember, go check that out. But I think more importantly for this, let's begin to talk about back pressure. I think that's probably something that you want to talk about right now. So I want to be very clear. The Polonium-30 is not a low back pressure silencer. By any stretch of the imagination, it is a polonium, which is a high back pressure silencer. Okay. Now, but the Polonium-30, its bore got a little bigger. Now, let's go back to, I was going to say silencer 101. This is more like silencer like 301. Remember silencer 201? Let's say 201. Silencer 201. Back pressure is a function of what? There's two things. Overall flow rate through the silencer and the early time shock reflections in the blast chamber near the muzzle. Yes? Yes. Omega and alpha. Correct? So you're really not changing the alpha going from polonium to polonium-30. Yeah? Not by much. Why would you? Yeah, you made the orifice a little bigger, but boy, is your blast chamber the exact same geometry. And so is your blast baffle. You're going to be reflecting shocks awful similarly. Yes, the bigger hole does change that a little bit, but it's not a miracle worker, okay? But you are changing omega. Oh yes. Now we don't publish the 556 omega, but we have the 762, and you can see if you and to state this in a universal way. If you don't want to call it the omega metric, don't. Just talk about the physics instead. If when PEW Science names something a word and it triggers you, I don't know why. Some of you get very upset. Most of you don't. But if it triggers you, don't think of it like that. Just plot the gas momentum accumulation 1 meter left of the end cap. If you do that, the accumulation rate of the Polonium-30 will fall somewhere between the Trash Panda and a Rugged Radiant. Okay? That way I'm not using any PEW Science proprietary terms. We'll just call it the gas momentum accumulation rate, 1 meter left of the end cap. Oh, what's that? Omega metric. Oh my God, he said something crazy. He's unhinged. I think people are using the word unhinged a little bit too liberally. That word is, frankly, has a very specific definition. So you shoot a Trash Panda, you shoot a Rugged Radiant on a bolt gun, you shoot a polonium. Now, the muzzle devices that you pick with the polonium is gonna really influence behavior, and so is the weapon system that you use. But the overall omega metric does fall between those two silencers. We'll talk more about back pressure of the Polonium-30, like holistically, as compared to the regular polonium, like when we talk in the next topic with the 556 semi-auto tests, because it's more applicable. Like back pressure on a bolt gun doesn't really, it only matters in very rare cases. And it can matter on a bolt gun, but in rare cases. But it matters more on semi-auto. So we'll talk about how that manifests. But I just want to tell you kind of what the omega metric shows and why the omega metric is different. You should know that it's because the silencer has a bigger hole in it. So the momentum accumulation rate is higher. And so gas is going through the silencer faster. However, in early time, the shock reflections at the muzzle are still coming right back down the barrel, very similarly to how they would with a smaller bore polonium. So in that respect, that part of the back pressure contribution is not as reduced as the late time accumulation characterized by omega. Clear? Okay. Now, you say all this, and you're like, okay, I get it. Bigger hole. Got it. Understood. So you say, okay, how's it stacking up? On a bolt gun, 30 caliber bolt gun. You buy a Polonium-30 for whatever reason you want to put it on a bolt gun. How does it compare? Well, again, you're sitting around first gen Nomad 30 levels and maybe Hyperion K levels. Hey, and that's actually a good question. Let's look at those three silencers. You got Hyperion K, you got Nomad 30, and you got a Polonium-30. What's the difference between those three silencers? Like technologically and performance wise? Well, They're similar overall suppression rate. Does that mean they're the same? Well, no. Okay. The Nomad, well, it's changed a little, and it's a little quieter now, so maybe you throw that out. The Nomad's less durable than the Polonium-30. If you want to look at that, like there's no freaking way that a Nomad would hold up to what a Polonium does. I can assure you that. Now, Nomad's a little more complex. Hey, and you know what? What's interesting about the Nomad shares technology with the Hyperion. Yep. Now the Hyperion K out of these three has the highest flow rate of the three silencers. But that's because of the low alpha, which is a Hyperion thing, and it has a lower omega because it's short. But all three of the silencers are going to be pretty similar for you on a bolt gun with regard to hearing damage risk. But it's all about what you want to do with the silencers. You see, like when you get, I'm telling you, these 30 caliber gauntlet is packed and competitive. There's a lot of competing models. There's different prices, different materials, different back pressure, different performance. You just got to see what you're looking at. What you need out of a silencer. I think it's just one of those silencers. Like they took a polonium and made a bigger hole so you could use it on more stuff. But there are consequences to that. There are. And that I think that brings us to the next topic. Because for a lot of people, they're probably getting a Polonium-30 if they want to use it on multiple cartridges. It's not exactly a 30 caliber Wunderkind. Yeah, no. 9. It is not. It's just a 30 caliber Polonium. That's actually a good question. That's maybe a good way to frame this. What if you have a regular polonium? How would the Polonium-30 perform differently than the polonium on the guns you already use with the polonium? Just how much difference does changing the bore from 6mm to 7.62mm make? Let's talk about it. Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. Okay, well, yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll do that right now. Topic 2. At a time of 37 minutes and 4 seconds. Very good. Okay, 1 second. Making good time. This is relatively reasonable. It's pretty good for episode 200. We're staying on topic mostly. Haven't gone off the rails yet, which is good for me. It's topic 2. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll move into Sound Signature Review 6143. We just talked about 142, and we'll talk about 143. So this is the same silencer, but now moving from 30 caliber, or rather, 308 bolt gun to 5.56 short barrel AR-15, the Mark 18, the 10.3 inch. Okay, we'll do that. Let me do that. Let me go to the website and pull up 143. Okay, just to make sure I have it queued up there. Now, again, guys. What are you doing in this test? I asked you this. I actually posed this question to you last time. What are you doing in this test? Same thing we did in Article 75 with the regular polonium. That's a 6mm silencer. It's a 243 caliber silencer. You saw what happened. Very high muzzle performance with pretty high back pressure, resulting in shooter's ear performance that was lower. You saw that with the polonium. Okay, now, interesting thing. The overall composite suppression rating of a polonium on a Mark 18, it's pretty close to the overall composite suppression rating of a Polonium-30 on a 308 bolt gun. Now the balance of shooter's ear risk and bystander risk are reversed. It's not 1 for 1, but it's interesting to look at the comparison across the host types and cartridges and silencer. The suppression rating lets you do that. It just I thought that was interesting when I was looking into this. Now, when you take that Polonium-30 and you put it on the Mark 18. Let me say that one more time for you. When you take that Polonium-30 and you put it on the 5.56 Mark 18 SBR, what happens? Does the same thing happen that did with the polonium on the Mark 18? Like, is it a Polonium-30, both on the Mark 18? Do they do the same thing? No. No, no, no. Okay, and what's the biggest difference? Well, the bore. You're opening the bore. Remember, same ammo, same weapon, same mount, just a bigger hole. Okay, same baffle design, guys, just bigger hole. That's the only difference. So what does that do to the performance? Well, it drops the performance at the muzzle as you would expect. By how much? Go to the article. Okay, the article is right there. Bottom line up front, 29.5 suppression rating at the muzzle for Polonium-30 on the Mark 18. 23.9 at the shooter's ear results in a total composite score of 30.9. So moving from the 6mm polonium to the 7.62 Polonium-30, you drop over half a suppression rating category at the muzzle, which is a good bit. But then you notice that you jump almost half a category at the shooter's ear, which is also a good bit. It's interesting, right? Do they cancel out? Well, no. No, they don't. But they do. They both do happen simultaneously. Okay, let's talk about it. They don't cancel each other out by any means, but they do happen simultaneously. It's different. So please, in the review, scroll all the way down to Figure 1. That's right. Figure, just like last time, just like a few minutes ago, in this review, Figure 1, which is Figure 1A and Figure 1B, silencer fingerprint. You're all very familiar. Two things are noticeable immediately here, guys, or two phenomena. So what do you got? This is a theme. Faster blowdown than a regular polonium on the Mark 18. Higher amplitude. The second thing you're going to notice, similar major jetting as you saw in the 308 bolt gun test. That's right. Not only is the Polonium-30 doing what you would expect a polonium with a larger bore to do on 5.56, it's actually doing it in a way that it handles high pressure combustion on 308. I mean, it's like you took the silencer from the 308 test and you put it on the Mark 18 and it did something similar. Weird. It's kind of interesting. It's I'm thinking about a way to say this. I think what this shows is that the Polonium-30 has a very strong fingerprint, well defined. There's no faking a Polonium-30 shot. It seems to be one of those things that behaves a certain way after it gets hot. It just does. And the really efficient aspect of the baffle stack seems to have a bore size envelope, like an envelope of it has an efficiency band, I guess I would say, that's bounded by like 2 diameters probably. And so it's interesting to think about the fact that they might not have hit the exact envelope here with a Polonium-30, like for the polonium baffle stack. So in other words, it's like, so the test data is showing that the overbore is still within the envelope of performance optimization some might deem acceptable. And it's just, you could vary this in a sensitivity study, right? You could create a very interesting sensitivity study of that parameter, really, if you wanted to. The bore parameter is the only thing changing, so you get to see how the performance scales with only that change. A cool thing would be to test a tighter bore polonium and then an even bigger bore Polonium-30, and then you would have 5.56, 6mm, 7.62, and maybe like 8mm or something like that, all on the Mark 18, and then you could see what happens. I feel like that would be cool. I feel like we already know the answer, but it's one of those little exercises that would be neat, and it would prove a hypothesis, which is that's how they teach you to do science fair projects. So besides the faster blowdown, so you got faster blowdown, you got higher pressure, you got a little bit a loss of efficiency when you make the bore of a polonium bigger on 5.56. What else happens? Well, you lose some of the consistency. Okay. Check out the gas momentum propagation in Figure 2, please. If you scroll down to Figure 2, there's an impulse space. So, it's really important to note that we're comparing the Polonium-30 performance on the Mark 18 to the regular polonium on the Mark 18. So in that respect, yes, the polonium-30 is less consistent. But what about compared with other overboard silencers on the Mark 18? Okay, what about some other 30 caliber silencers you may choose to use with 5.56, right? I mean, guys, I'm here to tell you, you take a Q Trash Panda, a rugged Razor 762 or 5.56, an energetic Armament Arcs, Dead Air Salmon S, all of those are 30 caliber bore silencers. You take any of them and you put them on the Mark 18, they're not going to control combustion as consistently as a polonium-30, and that's pretty interesting. It's interesting because you usually have to go to a more complicated geometry with overbore like that. To do that rather. You got to go Helios, you got to go Nomad, you got to go something like that. Those are examples of 30 caliber silencers that are more advanced that control combustion on the 5.56 Mark 18. But the polonium-30 is doing it with just the regular polonium baffle stack with a bigger hole. And that's pretty neat. Yeah. As a matter of fact, another silencer that was able to do that, I believe, was the Aero Precision Lahar 30, which I neglected to mention. Similarly performing that silencer. I just forgot to talk about that. Yeah. Okay. So what else changes? We're not done. We're not done by a long shot. What else changes? You already saw the blowdown was faster with the polonium-30 than it was with the polonium, yes? You're lowering back pressure, right? That's right. And what specifically are you doing? Well, you're letting gas out of the system faster. So what does that do in our measured data and in our calculations? It's dropping omega. We talked about that. And what else did we talk about? Is it changing alpha? Not really. Okay, the blast baffle is the same shape. It's still the same distance away from the orifice. It's reflecting shocks just like it does in a regular polonium. It doesn't mean the back pressure isn't going down. We've already seen the external gas momentum dump has increased its rate. Omega has dropped. That slope is higher. Got it. But alpha hasn't dropped that much. So what's the end result of this? What is the end, I was going to say, I don't know what I was going to say. When the rubber meets the road. What's the end result in real world use because of that change in bore on this gun? You get a similar bolt speed, but less ejection port blast. Why? Well, with this design, alpha is driving weapon kinematics with ejection port blast being heavily influenced by late time gas flow. Yes? Alpha driving weapon function and omega also driving weapon function and ejection port blast. Is that something that we know happens? Absolutely. Okay, so so what does that mean? Well, are you going to get less ejection port blast when you use a polonium-30 than a polonium on a Mark 18? Yes. Are you going to expect miracles? Is the polonium-30 a low back pressure silencer because the bore is bigger than a polonium bore? Well, no. It's not a low back pressure silencer, but it is a lower back pressure than the polonium. Okay? But now you know why and how and where and when. No, but really, are you going to be able to mag dump with no gas in your face? Well, no. No. Will it be less gassy than a regular polonium? Yes. Okay. Will. Data shows it. That's what the data shows, guys. So now let's look at this. Let's get deeper. What, you want to talk numbers? Let's talk numbers. You look at the shooter's ear suppression rating, which it's not a measure of gassiness. It's a measure of shooter's ear damage risk potential. That rating has jumped from 19.7 to 23.9. That's good. Now, the muzzle ratings dropped from 37.6 to 29.5. Okay. Well, with simply opening the bore of the silencer, there is no free lunch here, okay? You robbed Peter to pay Paul. You lowered your ejection port blast from a pure omega drop, which lowered your hearing damage risk, and raise the shooter's ear rating. But the more severe muzzle blast still impacts the shooter and prevents that shooter's ear rating from getting to 25. That seemingly interesting threshold where low back pressure silencers seem to go in the Mark 18. It's that 25 to 27 or so, where it's oh, they're jumping up. It's interesting, right? Yeah. I mean, none of this is groundbreakingly different with regard to risk. Right, when you look at the whole gamut, it's all loud, dude. It's all loud. It's a Mark 18's loud. It's all loud. You're not hitting 40 at the ear. You're not hitting 40 at the shooter's ear, but it does give you a scale to quantify things, so you understand it, right? You can still compare performance. Just not. It doesn't matter that they're not quiet, but you can still understand the performance differential due to changing different technologies. Okay, cool. So now you look at this. You think, well, what about tuning, Jay? Elephant in the room. What about tuning the gun? Let's tune the gun. A lot of folks tune their guns for the polonium. They want to help the shooter's ear suppression rating. Fine. Well, remember, alpha didn't change. You're still going to be able to tune your gun for polonium-30. I bet you can help the shooter's ear risk. I bet you can, but it's not going to shoot up like it would with the polonium because of the muzzle blast. Okay? You might not be able to change it as much. Now, whether or not you can match them or not, I don't know. Haven't done those tests. Haven't tuned it both for that, I don't know. But the muzzle blast is real in the polonium-30. You're not getting rid of that. Now, all that being said, the flow rate's higher overall with the polonium-30. A lot of people do report it's more pleasant to shoot on an AR with regard to gassiness than a regular polonium. All other things equal, the data seems to support those observations exactly. That's literally what we see in the data, okay? So that's a good proof of the efficacy of this testing and analysis method, I think. All in all, it's an interesting silencer. I don't know. I don't know how much they cost. I hear they're not too expensive. I don't know, guys. It's a polonium, but it's 30 cal. Put it on whatever you can fit through there. Modular back end, inverted blast baffle cone, so it doesn't erode that well. It changes the angle of incidence on the blast. It's like a very common thing to do in general when you're impinging blast on stuff. It's a basic utilitarian silencer that probably serves a lot of purposes for a lot of people. Okay, I hope it was informative to you to talk about it, to see what the differences are between the two models of the polonium, the 6mm polonium, the 7.62 polonium-30. It's the same silencer with a different hole. There are meaningful performance differentials due to that. Okay, there are meaningful changes in performance when you physically change only one parameter of a silencer, and it's important to understand how and why that changes. And I think this discussion helped you understand that. That was my goal. Okay. So big thanks to Otter Creek Labs. They are a longtime PEW Science client. They come to us for this third-party performance validation because you folks ask them to. I mean, you guys demand it. The market demands it now. They know the public likes to see the performance data. I mean, I don't know. Just like our other clients, they come to us to make that happen. And so in that, I would say, in addition to thanking Otter Creek for trusting us to perform the work, I would like to thank all of you listening as well for helping get the effort to this point to make something like this viable. It's awesome. Okay. I do think it's awesome. And, speaking of the PEW Science effort, I do want to address that in topic 3 in just 1 second. Yeah. Why don't we move into that now? Let's address that in topic 3 at a time of 53 minutes and 14 seconds. Okay. Yeah, topic 3. More silencers, more testing, more data. Research is continuing here at PEW Science. Testing is ongoing. Member-funded stuff. Contract-funded stuff from great folks. It's a great time to be in the silencers. Boy, have we been testing. It's been busy. Testing is ongoing. Analysis is ongoing. Some people think, I saw a weird comment the other day. Some people think, they say, testing takes the most time. If you only knew, dude. No. Testing and analysis. There's so many things that take a lot of time to make all of this work. And, testing has been ongoing on all kinds of platforms, And some new players are entering the market. Up-and-comers continue to do interesting things. Established folks are coming out with new things too. There are a lot of different silencers that have just come out and that will come out. And I'm telling you, several of them are here at PEW Science. So that's good news. Okay. I think it's going to be a good year. We're really seeing the industry embrace the silencer sound standard and not only see that consumers really respond well to it, but they're trusting the process. That's right. And, we owe a great big thanks to all of the existing clients who give us great feedback and spread the word. And a big thanks to the members supporting this to make it happen. We're hoping to get some really cool member-funded data published for all you. I think that's going to benefit the effort as a whole. So it'll be good. And, it's interesting. Talking about the Polonium-30, you can see that, it's one of 50 .308 bolt gun tested silencers we have in the pedigree, and in the public data set. And so if you're in the market to suppress your hunting rifle, man, you have a ton of data, don't you? And that's only going to get deeper and more competitive. Trust me. Okay. 5.56 is ridiculous. We really need to dig into 14.5 more. The 300 blackout data set needs to grow. So do pistols, rimfire, 9mm. There's 100 different host types yet to explore. So we're going to continue on this journey with all your help. If you're a PEW Science member and you've emailed a question, we're a couple days behind on those, so we're catching up. So thank you for your patience. Thanks for listening to the podcast. 200 episodes is a lot. I forgot the total tally of the amount of hours of me speaking with you are. It's a lot. And a lot of you listen to all of them. And I think you help a lot of other people understand it. And, I didn't do some crazy 200 episode extravaganza or anything. I just wanted to continue on doing what this is for. Telling you all about how silencers work. I think that's kind of my favorite thing to do in general. I like helping you. It's cool. Okay. So I hope, thanks for listening. And I hope you enjoyed the rest of your week. Go have fun. It's really good weather for shooting lately, at least here. So we're going to come with more data next week for sure. And we've been publishing quite a lot already. I want to go to the website really quick and see how many. It's February, right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we've already done 4 articles in February, but we're going to do more. Is that crazy? Wait, 20? Maybe it'll be March. Whatever. 4 articles in a month is pretty good. Okay. Yeah, so stay safe, man. Stay tuned. Stay safe. I'll talk with you folks again soon, all right? Okay, bye.